I'm pretty sure that you have watched Critical Role at some point if you clicked on this video. If not, then I have no idea why did you click on this video. Because, you know, right in the title, it says that it's for Critical Role fans that try to get into D&D. Then why did you click on it? Why? Um, but anyways, this is some information for mostly Critical Role fans that are new to D&D, but pretty much um, everyone who is new to D&D. Okay. During that, I'm going to be creating a game, at Roll20 to save up some time, so don't mind that. So essentially, first things first. Please don't say. Please, there's one thing that angers DMs. That angers DMs the most, and that thing is saying Matt Mercer would do something else. Because this is really, really annoying for some people. Because, seriously, not every DM is as professional as Matt Mercer. Okay? All of DMs are just trying to learn. And all of DMs have a different style of playing than Matt Mercer. Which is pretty much the most important information you will need. In order to actually have a great GM like Matt Mercer, this guy would need to be good at voice acting and also at world building. And voice acting is usually an innate thing that you cannot really change that much. So yeah, that's the main thing. There's also the other thing, aka the whole actual D&D play. Well, all of tables don't run D&D with Mathematics Homebrew and stuff like this, so you need to keep that in mind that all of stuff that was in Critical Role won't be available at many tables. And yet another, and there are two more things. Then another thing is when creating characters. Well, we can see that a lot of characters, usually characters in Voice Machina, were, trope characters, usually. Because, you have the big, angry joke barbarian, pretty much. You have the horny bard, that is Scanlan. You have the tree-hugging druid, Caliph. I mean, I know that she's not like 100% tree-hugger or something to a comical degree, but she still cares about plants really, really much. Um, the, then we have Vex and Vax that are just really typical. Well, I have one friend that I call Wizard, which came from watching being inspired by Critical Role and stuff like this, and wanted to start off with D&D. Well, this guy thought that I don't really remember which one is Vax and which one is Vex. I keep confusing them, but I think she is called Vexala. So yeah, Vex, I think. So Vexala is a ranger that, even though being a hunter, is a bit charismatic, and he thought that this was like a really brilliant thing, a brilliant sort of version of expectations. And I don't want people really to come with that mindset, because just remember that your character is what you define. Class and race are mostly just things that you slap on top of them and for mechanical purpose. Um, and that is a really important thing. Um, because well, if you set yourself as an expectations as pretty much every character from Vox Machina being a baseline for what a character should be, then really you will be surprised and disappointed also, probably, because Critical Role came out pretty late into the development of D&D, because D&D is already a 9-year-old game. So there were already tropes that existed, and people got tired of these tropes before even D&D came out. I mean, like before even the D&D campaigns from Critical Role came out, which is a real important thing to remember. That don't feel limited by your character and stuff like this. And also, please do not copy characters from Critical Role. Mostly, I see this with the Mighty Nine fans, where the Mighty Nine fans, usually mostly Jester fans, are particularly quite a weird bunch. I don't speak it for all the players, but I say that I've met quite a lot of players. Because I've seen like quite a lot of players that play the Mighty that like the Mighty Nine, and a lot of them are, and particularly Jester fans, are particularly annoying about saying, hey, that's what Matt Mercer would do, just copying Jester's character, and usually just changing Jester to Chester. Like, just ping Jester that is called Chester. I've seen this a bunch of times. I've seen this like if I had like one nickel for every time there was a character, there was a person that is like a Critical Role fan that made essentially a copy of Jester, except it's pink and it's called Chester, then I would have 3 nickels, which is not a lot, but it would be weird if it happened 2 times, but it happened 3 times. So yeah, remember that. And the last thing is about D&D as a system. Well, as you can see, D&D is a pretty popular system, and mostly because of stuff that is done with D&D and how D&D just generally operates. D&D is generally good for game shows like Critical Role. The way it works, it has a simple premise, it doesn't have really a lot of mechanical things, and most of mechanical things like overall, because pretty much everything is just a skill check, and then GM just needs to think about everything. So it's better for the narrative of the game. Overall, if you're trying to make it into a game show, and natural 20s feel way more impactful. But just remember that D&D, they pick D&D mostly because it would work for a game show. I personally advocate for systems like Cogent and Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And also am planning on checking out Fate core system. Because as far as I can see, D&D's best quality is its popularity. But when you actually start to play it, then the games after a few sessions feel repetitive, usually during combat, because we have limited options. And unless you actually do some balancing, unless the GM does actual some balancing, then it's really hard to figure out. Where actually Cogent RPG and also Pathfinder 2nd Edition um, are more balanced, making the party feel like better in sync. And at least Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I'm not really sure that much about Cogent, but Pathfinder 2nd Edition is really light on the DM because Pathfinder 2nd Edition has a little table for pretty much every skill and every action you use. So the GM doesn't need to improvise anything. So my point over here is not just to say hey, D&D bad and stuff like this. My point is just to say to try out other systems, because the D&D for first is owned by Hasbro, and because of its skyrocketing to popularity, it doesn't really have it doesn't really have competitors. It outclasses pretty much every competitor in terms of sales, which essentially was made the design team actually care less about stuff like this. They never actually listened to community feedback since D&D 4e launched. Then they never listened to community feedback until the OGL situation happened, because all of Unearthed Arcana, for example, Twilight Cleric, they released it to see if someone is satisfied. A lot of people said that they're unsatisfied because it is too strong, and they just like seen if are you satisfied? Yes, no. So instead of just listening that the Twilight Cleric is too strong, they didn't even read that. They just seen is it satisfying or not. They just decided that they just decided to buff it even more, because if it's not satisfying, it's probably too weak. So they did just one buff and already released it. So yeah, that's why I think that other systems are worth trying more than the D&D itself, because the whole experience is up to your GM in terms of playing. And if someone is not good at voice acting, then don't point that out. Don't point out that your GM is not Matt Mercer. Every GM has their own style, and as long as they are trying their best, then I think that they are a great GM. Whether or not they can do voices, for example, like I can do voices pretty well, I think. For example, for like a druid, I did like a voice like this. Hello, my name is Madame for Comics. What would you like to say? And I didn't say what would you like to say, I said what would you like to see, because there was this druid that just kind of showed people future and stuff like this. So yeah, just remember to be easy on your DMs and GMs in other systems than D&D. And mostly remember, guys, walk your own path, you freaks of nature. That's all. Bye.